so sure that the story of journalists within the context of political violence should be told as a journalist story. And I will tell you why. When political violence erupts, it is not just journalists who are in trouble.
Right.
We are forgetting that Joho's bodyguard was actually shot. We have somebody in hospital. He was not a journalist. He was just doing his job. So that for so long as we are in a context of political thuggery and political violence, none of us is safe, journalist or no journalist. And I would want to even push this further and ask, to what extent is the media and to what extent is a profession pushing for the agenda of non-violence or for the agenda of removing impunity? Because actually the reason why we have violence in political rallies is impunity. For example, nothing is going to happen to these people, and the rest of the politicians are going to learn that nothing is going to happen to these people. And the implications of violence within the political environment has serious repercussions for everybody apart from journalists, Michelle, because my big concern, for example, is women in politics, okay? That one of the ways in which women are curtailed from fully participating in politics is making politics violent.
Right.
And therefore, the issue of violence in politics, or the extent to which journalists are exposed to violence in politics, shouldn't be a media issue or a journalist issue. It should be a society issue. That where are we at this point in time, and who is responsible? And for me, the buck stops with the people who are tasked with keeping law and order. As soon as law and order breaks down, we know who is responsible.
Right.
I think I still insist that it's a story, that the journalist story has to be told.
Of course it has to be told.
Because who is
Yes.
going to tell the story?
Yeah,
It has to be
they
told.
tell their own story.
And therefore,
Yeah.
no matter, the profession is such that no matter whether there is violence or not, a story has to be told. So in the context of violence, really, you have to take extra effort.
And because the kind of violence we've seen against journalists isn't just, being shot or whatnot. We've had incidences where the cameras are broken, the tapes where they've done the recordings also taken, issues like that.
I hear the case of journalists, and in no way am I suggesting that that case should not be told. What I am cautioning against is a notion that journalists are separate from everybody else in that situation. So is it possible for us to make a case of how violence affects journalists? Yes. Is it also necessary for us to explore how the same violence affects everybody else? Yes, it is important. And for me, especially how it affects women in politics, it is a bigger story that hasn't been told, because remember, when women cannot participate in politics because politics is violent, then you are disenfranchising a very big part of the population, so that there are issues of participation, the issues of representation, the issues of the Constitution that are being violated. So there's a larger story there from this group. While we tell the one of the journalists and how they are affected, let us also remember that other people do suffer equally.
And I agree with you, Prof. As much as we're trying to make space for the two-thirds gender rule and make space for women, then we need to make it a level playing field and ensure that they can participate in all spheres.
And we need to push the stories of women and how violence affects their participation in politics as we push the story of journalists.
All right.